What's up everybody, Superdrix fan here for another car review. This is of course the 2013 Porsche 911 Carrera. Huge thanks to Foreign Traffic Imports for providing me with this very nice Porsche to review for you guys today. So about the 911, well, I love, this new body style, the 991 generation that they introduced back in 2013. It's just a beautiful shape. I love that they retained those circular headlamps. They're very classic looking. I really like retro inspired things, and so I really respect Porsche for keeping the 911 true to the original design and the original shape. And I think it's still so beautiful. It's so understated, yet still a little bit aggressive, and really just looks like a purpose-built sports car. I especially love the back end there. It's just a beautiful silhouette, and just the way that, the slender taillights wrap around the fenders, and those wide fenders that also jut out very far, and just really give this car a great muscular stance. Right, so for the interior of the Porsche 911 Carrera, well, it's really cool. So first things first, sitting down in these seats, these are the standard Porsche seats. They're pretty good though. I mean, I'm a smaller guy, and they really are pretty snug here. And so the torso support's great. Thigh bolsters are awesome as well, and they're pretty comfortable seats too. Next is the steering wheel in the Porsche 911 here, which is pretty good. So, it's nicely leather wrapped. The only complaint I have is this little plastic piece here right by the 9-3 grip. Half the time your thumbs are resting on this plastic here, but it is a good 9-3 grip otherwise. And there are other steering wheel options for the 911, and I think those options are much better than this as far as the comfort here, because they don't have the same plastic like this does. But it's a great wheel. There's no buttons on it, nothing cluttering it up. It's just a great wheel. Has a flat bottom here, and nicely contoured, good 10 and 2 notches, and like I said, a really great 9-3 grip though otherwise, and overall pretty good wheel. Next is the gauges in the 911, which are very classic 911, very similar to all the other 911s that have come before it. And so you have a nice big tachometer there right in the middle with a digital speedometer and your gear indicator there, and then you have an analog speedometer. And then I love on the right there having that digital gauge that you can customize for several different things, such as a G meter or your navigation and other car information. And that's really great to have. It's such a cool thing whenever they first introduced that. I thought that was so creative and a great use for that additional pod there. And so overall, I think they're just great gauges. Come along to the center of the dashboard here. It's really nice. I love how the 991s have this new tunnel here, and it's really just very user-friendly. I love the design and the setup. Very clean. There are a good amount of buttons, so people that dislike buttons may be a little overwhelmed here, but it's not as bad as some of the other Porsche models like the Panamera. But first you have this great screen here. It's not large, but it's touchscreen and very easy to use and very responsive. Other things, you have this beautiful clock with the Sport Chrono package that has a great little lap timer as well, and looks just beautiful there too on top of the dashboard. And then all the climate controls and all the buttons and everything feel pretty good. Not the best out there, but they're very beautiful, and I think that it's definitely worthy of the price. Again, you're buying a sports car, you're not buying a luxury cruiser, so I can forgive it for not having the nicest of buttons, but the quality overall is pretty good. They're very logically arranged, with your climate controls up here, and then you have your Sport and Sport Plus and traction control off, and some other controls back here, but just a really nice setup. I love this tunnel, how it's elevated. It's not a far reach for any of the buttons. Everything's very easy to get to, and overall very well done. As far as storage space in the 911, it's pretty good. So you have map pockets here on the doors in addition to another part that you can open up right here, and then coming along to the center here, you just have this tiny little cubby. I don't know what you would even put in there, but you have that. You have a little center armrest here that it's slightly padded, but it's not super soft, and but it's okay for putting your elbow on. But then that'll expose this very, very shallow little cubby here that you can use a power outlet, but otherwise pretty much unusable. You could fit a phone, an iPod, things like that in there. That's about it. Another interesting thing, especially with the 911s, but some of the other Porsches as well, is whenever there isn't any room for cup holders, like you don't see any cup holders here, they're always right up here. So you just hit that and they swing out, and a very intuitive way, and they've been doing that for years, but I think that's still a very clever way to hide the cup holders. As far as backseat space goes in the 911, it's kind of, one of those, it's very tight and cramped, mostly just good for small children, things like that, but the seat is also just not very comfortable uncomfortable. It's not designed to actually really hold people, it seems, as there's just that gap in between the seat bottom and the seat back there. And you know, but you can fold that part down there as well, so that'll give you additional storage space if you'd like for that little parcel shelf there in the back, and that's nice to have as well, in addition to the trunk, which of course is under the bonnet and under the hood there. And so you have it's super deep, and if you've ever looked into the trunk of any of the other supercars and stuff, it's just as big as those. Really a large usable space. You could probably fit I'd say 2 suitcases, as long as they're not too tall, but a good usable space there as well. All right, so start up and go for a drive. You know, Porsches, these modern ones have these car-shaped key fobs that are very cool. And but this one has the keyless ignition, so you just leave this in your pocket here, put your foot on the clutch, it starts right up. Alright, so setting off in the 2013 Porsche 911 Carrera. So we're on this road that's a little bit bumpy, but not too bad. And, you know, it's definitely a little bit of a firmer ride. It feels like a sports car, though, and so, you know, being a 911, it's excusable. It's not supposed to be a luxury car. You can get the, you know, advanced suspension setups in this so that you can have a more comfortable ride. But, you know, it's not too jarring or anything so far. And, you know, otherwise, visibility is great with 911s. You can see forward so well. Large side windows, the B-pillar is really far back, so you don't have to worry about that, and good view out of the back as well. But let's turn onto this back road here, see how it does. Okay, so we got plenty of power here from this 3.4 liter flat 6 engine. It really pulls hard, especially in the higher RPM range. It's just so much fun to wind it all the way out to 7,500 RPM there. So satisfying. It just sounds great too. And let's go for another acceleration here. Yeah, it gets up to speed plenty fast. So we're dealing with 350 horsepower and 287 pound-feet of torque. Now it doesn't make peak horsepower until 7,400 RPM, which is why you gotta ring it all the way out in order to get all the power. But that's more fun that way, and I really enjoy that. And you got that classic flat 6 sound, and just a great sound, especially now, you know, we know this is the last generation of the naturally aspirated 911s here, at least for a long time. And so it's just great to hear that unassisted, naturally aspirated sound. It sounds really great. Two things I can add right off the bat here, also driving this car, is that the clutch is nicely broken in. This one has over 18,000 miles, and brand new Porsche clutches can be a little bit tricky sometimes in my experience, but this is really great. It feels so natural. The only thing about it is that the clutch throw is very long, so you gotta put your full leg into it there. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can slow down. You're shifting a little bit if you're trying to shift super quickly. But yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing is the shifter is also a little bit of a longer throw. I like the positioning though, and I like the way it feels going through the gears. It's just that the throw is a little bit longer than I would normally see, you know, expect from, I guess, a sports car. And but it still feels great in your hands. And another acceleration just for fun. Man, it sounds great, especially those upper RPM ranges. So satisfying to drive, and this thing really feels weightless. It's just got this directness and this sharpness about it. It feels very organic and natural going through corners. It's different than any other car that I've experienced in that regard, and it's nothing huge. It's just a very subtle, like, just peaceful way that it kind of goes through corners. It's kind of hard to explain, but you don't ever feel like you're fighting with the car, really, at least at normal, you know, sane speeds like this. It's just a very relaxing thing to take around corners, and still very exciting at the same time, though, since you're rolling the gears and, you know, really revving out the engine and stuff. It's just a really cool experience, and you know, it's not muscle car by any means. It's not you know, some kind of monster or anything like that. It's all about the fluidity. It almost It kind of has the same philosophy as things like the BRZ and stuff, where it's the fun of rowing through the gears, it's the fun of, you know, the great handling, the sharp steering, and that's another thing, is I can say the steering is very perfect. Now some cars, you know, they're artificially heavy. This is just like the right weight. They just did it really well. I know some people were freaking out when these first came out because it had the electric assisted steering instead of the hydraulic rack. I think it feels great. You know, you still have good feel through the wheel in my opinion, and I don't see a problem with it at all. Yeah, let's do a second gear pull now. Oh yeah, it's fun. And it still does have good pull from down low, you know, even in some higher gears there, second gear still feels very strong. And now I've just hit the sport button, which also makes the exhaust a little bit louder, as I will demonstrate now. Yeah! Sounds really good there. Oh, this is so fun. It's enough power to still really impress you. It's not like it's a Miata that doesn't have power and just has handling. This has it all. This is also riding on aftermarket wheels, which may be playing into the reason why it feels a little bit harsher than I was expecting. But still, it feels pretty good. And again, this is a sports car, and even as a sports car, it's not too bad at all. I mean, I'm on some pretty, you know, big potholes and things like that, and it still isn't too bad. This engine just feels so eager. This whole car just feels like so ready to go. It's such a willing companion. Anyway, I'm going to drive this car around for a little while longer here, and I'll come back and give you some updated impressions. Alright, so let's turn to this back right here and see about the handling. Okay, yeah, I still love this power. It's so much fun. But here we come up with some proper corners, and let's see how this handling actually is. It's so flat. Porsche's just change direction so easily. At least here at sane speeds, it just feels so good. Just so lightweight feeling, and man, is it fun. These are some tighter corners now, and oh man, it just hangs on and just plays with you. It's so fun. It's very predictable, it's very playful, at least at, you know, reasonable speeds. I can't, you know, take it to a track or anything, but at least on back roads here, it's just great. I love just, it just winds all the way out. It gets up to speed very quickly. Brakes are very good as well, and yeah, it just handles so well. Get up the red line though, just it never gets old. It's such a great sound. You go full throttle all the way through the RPM band. It's just it's intoxicating. Simmering down a little bit though to a regular speed here. A few other things that I've noticed while I've been driving, and first is that there are a couple little squeaks and rattles that I've noticed. This seatbelt, for one, likes to rattle and squeak a little bit, and this could just be something that happens over time as plastics wear, and that's totally okay. But there are some, and that's just something I want to make everyone aware of. But otherwise, it's nice and tight. Everything's really it still feels very high quality for the most part, and the nice thing about Porsches is you can customize them as much as you want. So if you want to have you know, leather dashboard, you can. If you want to just have the normal like this has, that's fine too. So you can make it just as nice or as Spartan as you'd like. And so that's one of the great things about Porsches, is that they are so customizable right from the factory. And yeah, but I mean, overall, this is really a fun little, you know, weekend car, or a car you can use every single day. It's not the most luxurious, of course, but for those that don't need to be coddled in tons of luxury, this is still great. And you can spec these out to have more luxurious appointments and things. Like this one has heated and cooled seats and things like that. But I would say the ride is definitely a little stiffer than a lot of the other sporty performance daily drivers, I guess you could say. So that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, otherwise though, it's just such a great car. So anyway, huge thanks to Foreign Traffic Imports once again for allowing me to review this car here for you guys today. I've been dying to review a 991 911 here for a long time, so I'm glad that it finally happened. And huge thanks to them. This car is for sale, by the way, so if you're interested in it, all the information will be in the description below, and you can click on the link and check it out on their website. They'd love to help you out if you're interested in it. So thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.